Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 2 of Konosuba. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So it seems to me that this stable seems a bit nicer than the previous one. Maybe I hadn't been paying sufficient attention, but I was given to understand the stable they were living in was sort of in the heart of the city. But that said, Kazuma is right. This is decidedly less than ideal, When you think you're going to a fantasy world to be its savior and all that, one would think that, you wouldn't have to worry about the little things like this. But I guess this is kind of what Kazuma deserves for being so vindictive, But, really, I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. I like the idea that all these characters are essentially the architect of their own misery. Yeah, so now Kazuma's learning a bit of a hard lesson here. Aqua isn't exactly reliable. And the idea was they were going to start adventuring in earnest. But seeing as how they don't have to get up and do construction work, Aqua decided, hey, we're not doing anything too important. That means I can sleep in. And, that's precisely the attitude that's going to ensure that life stays crappy. Unfortunately, Kazuma hasn't quite caught on yet. He's still listening to the words Aqua's saying. So they've taken up a quest in earnest, and this one involves killing giant toads. And frankly, I can't think of a more fitting monster that deserves to die. Like, toads can be menaces. I mean, there's this species of toad that's invasive in Australia called the cane toad. And those critters, they are an utter menace to the point where, you can just go and kill them with no repercussion, and it's sort of tacitly encouraged. So naturally, I'd imagine a giant toad with the attitude of a cane toad is tantamount to a real problem, and therefore it'd be kind of encouraged to just sort of kill him. I mean, if this little narration is to be believed, the toad is liable to steal livestock and eat it. That's not good. Livestock is important in what is essentially a medieval agrarian society. So on the one hand, it seems like this quest is probably not that difficult, or at least intended not to be that difficult. But on the other hand, Kazuma is poorly equipped and Aqua is totally useless. I mean, I guess good on Kazuma, he managed to save her, although, upon reflection, this might have been as good an opportunity as any to get rid of her. She did talk all this big game about being an archpriest. In theory, she should be able to do something, Maybe, I guess a priest is sort of like defensive magic, but, surely she's capable of something that could scare off a frog. Also, she seems to be under the impression that people will actually believe she's a goddess. I don't think that's going to be the case ever, really. It might be one thing if she's sitting on a throne as she was when Kazuma first met her, but seeing as how things stand right now, where she is bullied by frogs and generally just sort of dim-witted, I don't think anybody would really treat her as an object of worship. So she talks a big game about striking it with this divine magic, but, whether it's because she doesn't really have access to the magic anymore, or because the frog's in some way immune, it's not really clear. And having read this part of the novel, I don't think it was really expounded upon either. I think it was more just played for laughs, like, hey, look what Aqua did. But, 2 giant toads in one day. That's not that bad, all things considered. I guess Kazuma raises a good point in that this quest is no more lucrative than construction work. But at the same time, I feel like they're sort of building a foundation of skills here. Especially if Kazuma's so, dead set on making adventuring an actual profession. Now, this is something that I think is expanded a bit more in the book. Basically, Aqua is hoping that her status as an archpriest will be attractive to other competent adventurers looking for a party. And, on the one hand, that does kind of make sense. Like, you're a new archpriest just starting out. But on the other hand, I feel like most competent people would already have a party, If somebody's looking for a party, then it's not unreasonable to think that there must be something wrong, either with them or the party they were in prior. Okay, so I think I understand why things are going the way they are. Aqua's lying and making up these testimonials for their recruitment poster, and she's also restricting people to advanced classes, which is to say, classes similar to her own in that not just anybody can become them. That's, there's something to be said for that, Kazuma's right in that they're likely shooting too high. So here we have Megumin, an arch-wizard. And on the one hand, that all sounds impressive, but, if she's stooping to join this party, like I said, surely there must be a downside that's not being advertised. I mean, I guess the first thing is, she just talks kinda weird, like, that's a minor thing if you can just, have a reliable companion. But, so this is something interesting, too. Megumin is what you would call a Crimson Demon. And I don't know. Like, as I understand it, they're not actually demons. They're just, people, I guess, with aptitude for magic. Yeah, Megumin really is in a dire state if she hasn't eaten in 3 days. I feel like, Kazuma should recognize here that maybe not everything is as it seems if she is allegedly this highly powerful mage, but is so short on money she can't afford to eat and doesn't have a party. Not to mention the lie about the stupid eye patch. I mean, I feel like this is why, in part, people aren't willing to put up with her. Honestly, I find it weird that Kazuma's taking this attitude with Megumin when, she's new here. She just showed up. I feel like if there's anybody he should be haranguing normally, it would be Aqua. I guess if only to establish a pecking order. It's the facial expressions that really do it for me in Konosuba. She's saying like, hey, my parents' names are normal. And then she lists something utterly insane. And they just sort of stare at her, as is befitting. So once again, it seems Aqua and Kazuma are both missing the forest for the trees here. They're reading her card, and she is an archwizard. She does have this high magical aptitude. She can use explosion magic. But I feel like her drawback would also be evident by looking at the card. Without wishing to spoil for anybody new here. So I guess, naturally, Kazuma was stupid enough to allow Megumin to join them, meaning, I guess they can resume the quest to kill the giant toads. And knowing what Megumin's capable of, it wouldn't be a bad idea to sort of group all the toads together. But, I don't know. Kazuma seems reticent, I guess it makes sense for him to fight the toads one-on-one. Or one at a time, rather, seeing as how they have the numbers. He also seems to be under the impression that maybe Aqua will be useful here. Yeah, now this is interesting. Kazuma, he's just sort of, maybe he's not lying, but he's just sort of saying like, Aqua, she's kinda stupid, cut her some slack when she refers to herself as a goddess. And I guess that's probably the best approach here. Yeah, that's about par for the course. Despite this awesome magical attack that has this big lengthy explanation, the frog just sort of picks her up and eats her. And considering that Megumin does the sort of same thing, giving this big ominous chant, I feel like it's not strictly necessary for explosion magic, this is just something she sort of does for fun. Maybe casting the spell wouldn't take so long if she just sort of got to the point. Now that said, I think the animation is rather quite nice for explosion. I've always got a soft spot for stuff like this, big extravagant magic attacks, and how nicely they're animated. The only thing, really, I feel they could have added is, like a nifty little runic circle or something. So, I mean, that said, we don't know what happened to the frog, presumably vaporized in the explosion. But, yep, there we have it. One and done. As it turns out, explosion magic takes a lot of stamina, and Megumin has just enough for one. Now, I don't know how much Megumin actually gets into it here, but she makes it quite clear that she could be capable of all forms of other magic, but she stubbornly refuses to learn anything else that might be useful. Even if other spells wouldn't tire her out in quite the same way. At least not in one go like that. I mean, I'm just sort of going off memory of watching Konosuba the first time, but I don't think she really went into such detail about her refusal to do anything other than explosion magic. I'll take it back. I guess here we go, You're banned from using explosion magic unless we're really in a pinch. And now she makes the admission, that's all I can do. And, she says can't use other types of magic, but that's not the full truth. It's can't and won't. Oh boy, here we go with the party trick skills. Those are obviously the most important things Aqua could probably do with her skill points. Alright, there we go. Yeah, no. Nothing but explosion magic. Even if it's only one per day, that's it. And I think the appropriate response here would be dumping her in the stream and finding a new party member. Of course Aqua likes the idea of this, even though it's really antithetical to being a good party member. The big thing that really everybody but Cosmo's forgetting here is that if you're part of a party, your skills sort of have to benefit the party. Oh, poor Cosmo. At least he tried. I guess Megumin's making kind of a good deal here, You don't have to pay me anything so long as I can stay in the party. But, I think he correctly intuits that is a Faustian bargain. Yeah. Poor Cosmo. And unfortunately, I think things are really only going to get worse for him as things go on. Okay, so here we go. I guess things are a little bit different, Everybody assuming that Cosmo's abandoning this girl after, doing things. They assume that the slime features in it. Man, the more I think about it, Cosmo really got a raw deal being reincarnated. Although it is important to remember, this is essentially all a result of him being vindictive. Had he not been quite so vindictive with Aqua, he could be living on top of the world right now. But, despite how crappy things are, there is a silver lining, They did complete the quest, he gained experience and levels, he got paid. And I feel like if Cosmo were really smart here, he could, he could adjust the math a little bit to benefit himself. It's interesting, because he's sort of average intelligence as described by his card. I feel like if he just went with the flow a little bit, he could sort of swing things to his favor. Yeah, there really are no good quests. And it's unfortunate that the caliber of party members matches the quests, No good options. I mean, at least when taken at face value, this woman here is rather remarkable. Nice armor, a sword. Yeah, so Cosmo, he still hasn't learned his lesson, He's falling for the beautiful exterior, but he doesn't realize what sort of consequences his actions will have. Thinking about it, of all the names of the party members, Darkness is probably the weirdest of the bunch. And I'm wondering why precisely that's her name. It's also notable that desperation is not a good look. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.